community conversation on Public Health Preparedness Program, hosted by Reverend Daniel H. Lindo. Open discussions and insights on heat warnings and other public health emergencies. Philadelphia Immunization Program, preparing your home for every season. Personal preparedness to stay healthy, engaging faith-based and community organizations to consider planning for emergency. This and more is going down and will be discussed live on Island Vybe Philly Caribbean Station, www.islandvybe.net, every Monday, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Rising Hope for Change presents a community conversation on Public Health Preparedness Program, hosted by Reverend Daniel H. Lindo. Open discussions and insights on heat warnings and other public health emergencies. Philadelphia Immunization Program, preparing your home for every season. Personal preparedness to stay healthy, engaging faith-based and community organizations to consider planning for emergency. This and more is going down and will be discussed live on Island Vybe Philly Caribbean Station, www.islandvybe.net, every Monday, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Good evening. Go ahead. How's it best?
We gotta say which day who's gonna start.
Yeah. All right. Well, good evening, friends. Good evening, wherever you are watching us tonight and wherever we are coming your way tonight. Is a pleasant evening, very cool evening. Oh, the eclipse. Did anyone watch the eclipse today? That was fascinating. The last time we saw that was 2017. And today we were fortunate to see that my kids were excited. They talk about it in school. And so for my son came home with excitement. He's still trying to recollect that. And so he's still watching more about that. But well, good evening, friends. Wherever you're watching us, it's a pleasant evening. We hope you enjoyed the eclipse day today and your experience was, I would guess to say it was fantastic. But tonight we come to your way again with our weekly community health talk show right here on Island Verb, Philly Caribbean Station. We are really grateful to them for hosting us, giving us the kind of partner with us on this project. And this program would not be possible had it not been the gesture of the City of Philadelphia Department of Public Health, who are supporting this program 100%. And so tonight we come to you from Rising Hope for Change. My name is Pastor Daniel Lender, and I'm the Executive Director, and we are joined here by the Program Officer, Ms.
Kevin?
All right, so we'll turn it over to Miss Wilson, who is our host, and then begin to drive us, and we will chip in at all time.
I'll try my best. Yes, folks, thank you for listening to us. Whether you're listening live or you're going to play us back later, we invite you, encourage you to participate. Send us some messages. We'll read them on air. We'll answer any questions that you guys have. And if you have any suggestions on how we can make the show better or topics that you want to talk about within the community health realm, let us know. We'll definitely touch on those topics. For example, I know we had, I forgot her name, but we had a volunteer last week telling us about sundown syndrome. I looked it up and learned quite a few things on it. Didn't really know it was a thing before last week. So I want to say thank you. I hope you're back with us this week. And everybody else, please drop us a line. I am not in the medical field, and I don't think Pastor and Ms. Kebe is either. So sharing, we're learning with you and sharing our
experience. That's a good disclaimer. We are under here to make public awareness on things that affect our community. And so we are not health practitioners, so we want to make that total disclaimer that we are only here to be able to give community awareness on some of the health issues that affect our community. And so
if we talk about anything on here that you have questions about, again, we're not in the healthcare field. Speak to your primary care about it. If you need to go to the urgent care, your kids, their primary doctor. We're just spreading awareness.
Thank you. All right, let's talk about a couple of things tonight. I think, but we'll be focusing primarily on hazard preparedness, and we'll talk about home safety. We'll also, if we have the time in there, we'll talk about mental health issues during the spring time. And so we encourage you to participate, to send your comments, and feel free to always interact with us, and we will appreciate that so kindly from you. And thank you for being there in time with us. Now, let's talk about some of the hazards that people experience or spring bring, or maybe people experience. What are some of those things generically that occur during spring that we need to be aware? Probably looking at severe weather. What else do you think that our people should be aware of and they can begin to prepare?
I think one of the things we gotta consider is we have a lot more rain, so we have molding that's happening that may not have happened in the winter. Molding, like for example, in the winter time, most of us use furnaces, or we rarely ever use fireplace anymore, but we use furnaces and it dries out the air. That doesn't create molding, it prevents it actually. And then in the springtime, when we have all this rain, like we said earlier, some of our basements leak and all that type of stuff, and then there's stagnant water, and then it creates molding, and we're not aware of it, and then it gets in the vents. And in the summertime, we're blasting out central air AC, and then that's when it comes out. So we gotta be aware when you need a dehumidifier, get one, especially for basements. Like you said, in the immigrant community, a lot of us come from hotter weathers, and we've never experienced, like most of us don't even have basements where we come from. So
yeah, that's right. Many of us don't have basement, right? Yeah, you barely see it, especially the part of Africa we come from. You barely see someone building a home and building a basement to his home. No, you barely see it. And so here is a kind of difficult, not difficult, but it's a new experience.
Yeah, to be aware
so because it's a new experience, one of the things we need to be aware is your basement, does your basement, do you have French drain in your basement? Or is your basement kind of bringing water in, right? I know some homes,
fresh air circulation down there.
Yeah, you might be up good, but sometime during the winter, during the spring, you still experience some kind of water flowing around the within the basement and shooting. So sometimes some people they don't do anything in their basement. All right, so that's something that we want to talk about. How home safety. What about that? But during the spring that we are in now, which is heading all the way to June, so yeah, we should expect severe weather like entire last week. That was classical. We saw how much rain we saw, the downpour of rain that came in, and we saw how much that obstructed some activities. We saw how much maybe that came into some affected some homes and so forth. Flooding is something that also we need to be aware that in spring we see that flooding will take place. And of course, previously we shared about this seasonal allergies. Those things occur, and we want before we move quickly to home safety. How do we get ourselves on the alert or prepare mentally and prepare ourselves emotionally or even physically be ready to when we experience flooding, we experience severe weather like what was happening last week, or maybe you cutting your grass within your yard or at the back of your yard. uh, how do we kind of become so conscious about maybe those allergies that come around, or the weather or the flood? How should our people get prepared for that? Anybody got thought on that?
I think some people that know that they have their allergies coming every year, most people already have medication and they have their prescriptions. They know they have to see the primary care. But if you're new and you come here, you've never experienced it. Sometimes you have allergies and you think it's a cold because your nose is running, your your nose is itchy. A lot of times, like if you just came to live here and you're experiencing that type of allergy for the first time, you think it's a cold that's coming on. You're just miserable. So pay attention. Like itchy eyes is usually not the cold. Like if you have that like right here and that itchy eye, we wanna go get yourself checked. And it's peculiar, but it's always been peculiar to me that we have more trees in the Caribbean, but there's more allergies here. We have more flowers in the Caribbean, but people suffer from more allergies here. It's always been peculiar to me. I think a doctor explained to me once, and I don't want to misquote, so I'm not going to say, but get yourself checked because, especially if you have a cold for 5 days, that's not going away. And if you have it mild and you go, oh, I could tolerate this, and you ever have a friend that just keeps rubbing their nose or just all the time? A lot of it is allergies, and we never ever, or your ears is itching, and we don't get it checked because we think it's mild. Some people have milder symptoms than others.
And I think it's important to know the differences, to know what the allergies are, flu, the symptoms, because as much as they are similar and they have similar symptoms, they're still different. Like for allergies, they're not as communicable as flu. So if you have allergies, the person
they're not as what? Sorry?
Communicable, like something that you can just pass on easily, on like flu. So it's not the same. You can get allergies, and I can be with you all through. I can catch that from you. On like if you have the flu and we close, maybe a couple of minutes, depends on how my system is. I might catch it within a twinkle of an eye.
Yeah. And again, if it's long, because a cold usually stays in your system for about 3 days and then it starts to get better. If you're not getting any better, most likely you're suffering from severe allergies.
Okay, and that's fascinating. And in Southwest Philadelphia or its environment, particularly, especially during this spring season. So as we mentioned earlier, some of the common hazards that usually Philadelphians experience during this time is severe weather, like thunderstorms. Oh, last week that thunderstorm was kind of blazing, right? Like it was like frightening at some point. And some tornadoes, it's important to be aware that we are in that season now where flooding can take place, tornadoes can take place, thunderstorms will still occur. And so last week, I know when we talked, we said, well, you can see the weather will be good yesterday and today it will change. And so it still be on that. Do not just completely say, well, that it's over, you are in summer already. No. But you may see the sunshine today, tomorrow, the weather may completely change. So be aware of that. Heavy rainfalls can still come in, as we saw, like I mentioned, as we saw last week. And of course, you saw the panelists talk about the allergies that do occur. So especially during this pollination period where flowers are blooming. And so it's important to take note of that. So wherever you're watching us, in your home, in your car, whether you'll be watching us later, we thank you, but we want you to be aware that all those things help to, when we take the necessary precaution, it build up, we will still healthy. And if we're still healthy, we will continue to do what we love to do best. And so that's why the city is really concerned about uh, the the awareness component. So as a community-based organization, we want to talk to our fellow immigrant, wherever you come from as an immigrant, that you are still adjusting into the American system. Yes, be aware that those things are real. They happen right here in spring. It's time that you still be prepared. Don't just live anyhow. Make sure you understand that flooding can take place anytime. And then, of course, heavy downpour of rain can stay for. Be also aware that thunderstorm can stay coming at this time as we prepare to move into summer. But we still got literally 2 months to deal with the spring, uh, you know, things that come along with it, where the cold will go. But within the spring, you still experience all of these things.
Can we like switch gears just a little bit? We talk about prevention a lot, and as we should. What is one of your favorite things about the spring? Like, what do you look forward to?
For me, I honestly look forward to the blooming of nature, like the flowers, how beautiful the place becomes. It's like dry bones coming back to life. And and the fact that activities are becoming more as compared to the winter, and people are coming outside, people that you couldn't see during the winter because people were like work home. Some people that had the opportunity to stay home will stay home. Now people are coming outside, you socializing more, I would say, rather than being on the phone. People are socializing more. There are more outdoors activities in as much as it's not too warm yet. But these are the things that I look forward to for spring.
And that helps with our mental health as well.
Right. Yep.
What about you,
And I
Pastor?
love
What
the
do you
part
look
where
forward
people are
to?
coming out. I love the part where people are preparing to come out. And that brings me to mind, like, so yesterday my kids who came from church and they wanted to go to the park. I tried to rest, they couldn't give me a chance. So we had to go. So we spent about 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. And then the folks were around. It was not that packed. But then there was a quarrel that was occurring between two folks. And the gentleman just came, his hand is in his, under his jacket, like he's trying to pull a gun. And then I said, that gentleman, let's be careful, he has a gun. And everybody, like we all start scatter apart, And he's talking to the man, he can't take his hand from the gun.
Wait.
Right? Yeah, like someone wants to pull a pistol. I said, so that's another thing, right? When you go out to this park, when you go out for outdoor event, you got to be sensitive, especially
Right.
where we live. You got to be sensitive because people come out, and there are people that come out with some frustrations and so forth.
And some bad
And yeah,
intention.
and they are not
I'm sorry,
able
could I
to manage
rewind
their
a
own
little bit?
affairs. So
I'm a little lost. You said a guy, you went to the park with the kids, and a guy, you think he had a gun or did he have one?
I think he had one because
Okay.
they were exchanging they were in high exchange of words, right? And then he came from nowhere. His hand is stuck in his, and you right, like someone wants to pull something, and he's going straight to the gentleman. He's trying to, and as he's talking to the gentleman is backing up. So the gentleman he was trying to make a conflict with, he noticed that he was not in the same environment. So he too is backing up and he's cooling down. And I whisper to the people, I said, we have to be careful right here. So, like, okay, everyone grab their kids, and then we're leaving the park for them. Everyone was
That's unfortunate because those kids were probably looking forward to
yeah,
going to the
everyone
park.
was rushing to their vehicles, right? And that was it. So,
Very
like,
unfortunate.
you have to be
I mean,
careful. You have to take care of all of this.
right. This scenario just struck a very important point. Like most of the time, especially in this generation now, people are out in public spaces and everybody's on their phone. People have headphones. Some people have music playing. They have the headphones or the Bluetooth on. They can barely hear anything around them. They're just in their own space and in their own world. You don't want to be in public spaces and then you have things that completely block your hearing from what is going on around you. You want to be alert in case of emergency because sometimes to be so carried away, people might be watching stuff on phone and something serious is happening around you and you have no idea, you don't even know, you know?
Yeah, so
So
you have
that's
to be more aware of your surroundings now that
right.
everyone is out. Not
Yeah,
just good people are out, everyone is out. So you're right. You have to be more aware of we have to be more aware when we go out, our surroundings and everything like that.
yeah. And one of the things also, as we're trying to see us middle of spring almost now, is that is to ensure that you also plan in your home to maybe make awareness in your home, right? If you have a large family, whatever size of your family, to ensure that you work on your emergency plan to say if something happening, where do we all assemble, right? Maybe there's
Yes,
financial.
very
Where do
important.
we all assemble? So sometimes we the immigrants sometimes we don't want to talk about those things, right? And so that's why we always become more victim because other people they plan so advanced ahead of time. Like if something happened, this is what we do. We assemble. This is what we do. This is what for us to think that nothing, no disaster will happen, no trouble will occur. It's only when it happens that we begin to find solution to the problem. So we should graduate from that, right? And the way the saying go, I don't know if you all know about that, but I know Kepe might be a word I say, in terms of war, you prepare for peace, and in terms of peace, prepare for
Easy
war, right?
right,
Yes.
yeah.
Wait,
So it,
please repeat that for those. Please repeat that for those of us who have not heard it.
say in terms of peace, prepare for war, and then in terms of war, prepare for peace.
In times of peace, prepare for war, and in times of war, prepare for peace.
Yes. All right. And that is to say, like, all right, well, everything seems good in your home. Think about if there is an emergency, what should we do? How should we exit? So that brings us to say, always make sure that your exit points are free of any obstruction, right? Your exit point, wherever in your home, all the exit point, do not put things there that will that will clog the exit points, right? Without every door that you have, even windows, make sure you don't stock things that will become a
Make sure
hindrance.
they are
Just in
very
case,
clear.
yeah, just in case you
And
got no way to get out of your home, and that
and
your window is the only option.
Now, I was going to say another point too is have an emergency bag because you never ever know when you just need to grab something really quick and leave. Like a copy of your IDs, always have it in one place. A copy of your social security card, if you have one. A copy of birth certificates, like just in one bag. That if the house is burning down and you only could grab one thing, you have a bag that you could grab. I mean, I remember creating one in my early 30s and always having one. And now that we're still talking about this, I definitely need to update it with my son's stuff. So it's important to have that because the last thing you want is if something happens and you don't have an ID, which is like here, it's tough to not have an ID or, you know, like where you going or an emergency. And made me think of this because when they were having the fires in the summer in California, a lot of families got displaced and nobody, they said they didn't have IDs and nobody knew who they were because nobody was able to, you know, go look for things before they had to leave their homes. So we should prepare an emergency kit, and there's tons of information online. Even if you just Google emergency bag, you should get a checklist of what you should or should not have in there. And we take stuff like that for granted. And like you were saying, your sayings from Africa, my grandmother used to always say, you don't need anything until you need it.
Yep.
And when you need it, it's the most important thing in the world. So yeah, and like you said, have a conversation with your kids. If we get separated, where do we meet? If something happens in the house where, you know, like we have drills in schools and we have drills in workplaces and stuff for emergencies, we definitely should implement that in our homes.
That's true. I mean, preparedness is so important. I don't know how to stress on that more. Like Pastor even said, you cannot say, oh, like we take things for granted and say, oh, this doesn't happen or this not going to happen. You just feel so relaxed because right now, especially where we are at this point in life, almost anything can happen at any time. We saw, I don't know if we ever experienced or if there's ever been the kind of the earthquake that happened recently. Even though it was not as disastrous, but we all felt the effect one way or the other, wherever, as long as it was in the area, because it was even
that
felt
could have been worse than
in
like
New
what
York.
if that was a little worse than it was? So yeah.
Yeah, that was something that nobody expected. It just happened out of the blue. So now it would not necessarily be an earthquake. It might be something less worse than an earthquake. But how prepared are you? You know, so like you said, every point that was given here is valid. That's something that needs to be taken into consideration. It's always good to prepare. That they have the 3 P's of preparedness: preparation, prevention, and protection. You want to always make sure that you are prepared. You have
slow down and say that again. Prevention,
preparedness, prevention, and
preparation.
protection.
The first P is preparation. The second P is
prevention, protection.
Preparation, prevention, protection.
Right.
I have never heard, like, I know of each thing, but I've never heard that you gotta have your 3 P's before. You gotta have your 3 P's.
So you want to make sure you have your plan, like the emergency plan. You want to make sure you have your first aid kit in case of emergency and you need to always have your medications. If you have kids, make sure you have the kids' medication.
And a list of your medication with the kids, because I cannot pronounce my son's medication. If there is an emergency and he needs to have it and I need to go get it for him, I do not know the name of it. Because everything is in your phone, everything is automated. So a list of your prescriptions is important. You are absolutely right. And the dosage in which you're supposed to be taking them.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And that is part of the preparedness that folks need to be aware of, right? Yeah.
Nothing to go crazy over. It's nothing to lose sleep over. They say prevention is better than cure. So, you know, just be mindful. That's all we're saying or asking, because, you know, it could be overwhelming if you take on everything at once. But, you know, just start being prepared.
And if you prepare, it kind of saves you mental stress, because if you're not prepared, you know that affects your mental state too, because in case of emergency, your mind is like all over, you become stressed mentally, and then a lot of things that happen too, it also affects your mental health. But if you prepare and you're on course, I mean, that saves you a lot of stress, even though you might be panicking based on whatever it is that is happening or the level of the emergency. You might panic, but if you prepared, it's not going to be as worse as if you just caught off guard and you have no plan and you like, I'm just going with the wind.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. So having talked about things, you know, the spring hazard preparedness and so forth, and I think we'll chip in a little bit about the home safety. What are some of the best way or best practices that folks can do to keep their home safe during this spring period that you think we can advise our community to take note of?
Um, I think we always, for me, for an example, most of my security is cyber security or technical security, as you will. Like I have the digital locks, stuff like that on the doors. But we take for granted now a human component. Like if I'm not able to get home or something is happening, is there anybody that has my key or has access to my home that I trust that could, help in any case? And one of the things I think I really wanted to talk about is the human connection, because we talk about mental health and stability and socializing and stuff like that, but because of social media and how we are always online and maybe we connect to a few people or work on that, a lot of times meaningful friendships, like long ago you would have your best friend and that's the person you hang out with, she has keys to your house, you have keys to her house, you've been friends forever. Those things are becoming more and more rare. Like having stable connections like that isn't like it used to be, because we think social media or friends on social media is our friends. People are deceivingly isolated and we don't even know. Do you have somebody in your life that you could really trust if something happens to help in a circumstance, or trust in your home? I've been having that conversation with a few people this week, and without even knowing, there's nobody, I don't trust anybody to be in my house like that. And that's so weird to me, because growing up, people had access to each other's home. You had a sister you could call, a friend, a brother. That's becoming more rare. So we got to keep in mind, are we keeping meaningful human connections versus just cyber stuff?
That is so important, like what you just mentioned. One thing I do is I always make a copy of my key and give it to my sister. The first time she was like, I need my key, and I was like, yeah, so you can pop up on me whenever you want to. She was like, yeah, whatever, but I need my own key. So I always do that. I always give her a key, so she has access to my home like whenever. And it's so important because I've heard stories where unfortunately people died in their homes. And this country, some people just want to just be by themselves. They don't want to be bothered. There are a lot going on. Like we always discuss mental health. Some people have mental issues. They don't want to talk about it. They just feel like isolating themselves. And I heard a particular story about a lady who literally passed in her house. The only thing is she had family in Africa that she would communicate with like regularly. So this past, they didn't hear from her. They tried reaching out, they couldn't get her, and they had to reach out to another friend or family member over here who lived miles away, and the person had to go check up on her just to notice that she had died days ago. And that's so sad that nobody even knew, nobody had gone to check up on her to know what was happening. So just in case, like probably she has someone like you just mentioned who she trusted, who she could confide in to give access to her home, that person might, even if the person had not seen her, the person might, maybe let me just go over to my friend's place or to my relative's place. That is so important. You should, as much as for those living in apartments, the apartment complex, the how do you call them? The people who come over to do work, they do have their own keys to your place, but they're not your friends, they're not your relatives, they're not that
And
close.
they don't check on you. My mom had a friend that was in her house for 12 days before they knew she was missing, but nobody had keys to her house, so people would just go knock and, oh, she's not there. She was there for 12 days before they found her. And that's what I'm saying. Like we have to keep reminding ourselves to keep human connections solid and sturdy, and someone who's a little close to you.
That's right. So homeowners need to ensure they find a way to, if you don't have family around, at least you need to find a way that you can at least trust a friend or so, just in case, you get stuck, how they can locate very safe during the spring season. And so how do you ensure your home is safe? So Do your utmost best to conduct routine inspections. Call contractor, call, you know,